back to the Parrot Podcast. I'm your host, Sandra, and today I'm super excited to announce that we have another awesome guest. Today we're going to be talking with Mimi, and you might know her from Instagram at Baby Kiwi and Mango, or you might know her from YouTube, Mimi's Birdhouse. And she also shares lots of educational videos, and she shares a lot of truth bombs about what it's like to have a parrot. And she also has a son, Conure, and Quakers. So she's going to share some of her bird mom insight with us today. And I'm so excited to chat with her. And so is Mia. So let's get into it. Hi.
Hello. So excited to be here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so excited to have you.
I love your little baby hiding on your shoulder right now.
Oh, thanks. Hopefully she's not too rowdy because today she's been really crazy. So if she gets rowdy, I'm going to put her away because I don't want her getting into anything.
Too loud.
Oh my gosh. So this is Mango and Kiwi. Luza. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. But your Mango is just as beautiful. Oh my gosh, it looks exactly like ours. Hello, Mango. You're so cute and beautiful. I can't handle it. Of course, this is what bird moms do. They jump onto a call and they're like, your bird is so cute. Tell me all about them.
We just love all birds. It's impossible.
I know. All right. So I know that you have a YouTube channel, you've got your Instagram page, and we've been following you on both of those. And so I know all about you, but share with everybody who doesn't about you, about your flock and the birds in your flock, their species, their age, and anything else you want to tell us.
Sure, yeah. All right. So I have a YouTube channel where I dedicate myself to education as well. There's a lot of people who need to be a little more aware on taking care of parrots, as well as when people decide that they want a parrot just because they see mine, then I really want to bring awareness to their care because they're really difficult pets, as we know.
Yeah, yes, they are.
Little children for sure. So that's what my YouTube channel is dedicated for. I try and make a video for like absolutely every tiny thing that people have in question. And as well, we have our little art shop business for parrots. It's Mimi's
so cute.
Thank you. I might be bird obsessed, but I don't know if that's obvious.
That's actually perfect. It's perfect.
Our Instagram is just, them doing their thing. Luza is this is Luza. She's a Quaker Parrot. She was a rescue. I got her at 4 years old. When we did get her, she had self-mutilated all her wings. So she had no flight, no wing feathers whatsoever.
And she was clipped, right?
Horribly clipped on top of that.
Yeah, I watched your video on the wing clipping. So I want to ask you all about that.
Yeah, so when we got her, her colors were so dull. A lot of her feathers were just like broken up. She had just no wings. And if she it was so like badly mutilated that it actually turns like the base purple instead of like blue. So she was in very poor health when we got her. She had a dirty cage. Her toys were socks.
What?
So she was chewing on fabric.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, thank you to the family who realized they weren't caring well for her and put her up for adoption, because a lot of people aren't humble enough to do that and just make the bird suffer instead. So they when we went to get her, they met me and they liked me because they were a Latino family as well, and we are too. So I spoke Spanish. They liked that because she's bilingual.
Yes, I saw your video on that, and we're going to talk about that as well, because she speaks Spanish and English, and it is amazing.
She's way too smart. It's amazing.
Good boy. Oh. What?
But it took a while. We converted her diet. She learned to fly because of little Mango here. They were always so attentive of her. when she would fly, they'd follow her, make sure she was good. And she really regained a lot of her strength as her wings started to come in. And she got recall trained, she got her diet fixed, and now she is a perfect picture of health.
Wow, that's amazing. She is so lucky that she ended up in your care and in your home. So I love that. And for anybody who is in Ontario and would like to, in Ontario, Canada, and you'd like to adopt or rescue a bird, what is the website that you used?
So it's a group on Facebook. So if you just search parrot adoption in Ontario, you'll find this big group. There's a lot of members, and they post there every so often. A lot of parents actually in need of homes.
Okay, great. That's good to know. And tell me about Mango. And how old is Luza, or are you not sure?
She's 6 right now.
Okay, so she's 6. And how old is Mango?
Mango's 3.
Oh, the baby. And how did you get Mango?
So Mango, I got her since she was 2 months old. Hers was like a blend of a rescue situation. So at the time, I didn't know about that adoption site. And so I was looking for a sun conure because they go well with Quaker Parrots. And my Quaker really wanted a friend. So
that was Kiwi that you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
That was when Kiwi was there, and he really wanted a friend. So that's when I got Mango. And when I walked into that store, the disgusting quality of the cages, the care for the birds was horrible. And I called there, and I didn't know this, but in Canada, there's a place where you can report bad pet care. So I got Mango.
Where is this place so that anybody listening in Canada can report? Because this is important.
I actually managed to close it down.
You closed this place down. That's great. But who did you call to report it?
This was like 3 years ago. I googled like pet abuse number to report, something like that within Ontario, and a number popped up. I called it. I was like, hey, do you guys like deal with this? And they were like, yeah, what would you like to report? They asked for the place, why I was reporting it, and then they went to look at it and investigate it. Because like Mango, for example, she had this lump on her beak when she was a baby from the dirty cages and infection. I'm sure she had an infection. But once she got out of that situation, it started to go away. She had also as well an ulcer in her colon that was causing some poopy bleeding. So we got that checked out. But aside from that, I learned to formula feed, which was a whole experience. Because you're not.
I did the same.
You did too.
Yeah, with our Mango. It's not easy.
It's not. It's a full-time job.
Yeah. And you have to be so careful, like the consistency of the formula, the temperature of the formula, the amount that you're giving them, checking their crop, when is it full? And, you have to do it like on a schedule as well. It's hard.
Like having a newborn baby, literally.
Yeah. But it's always better to like leave it to the breeders and the professionals to do it and get a bird that's already weaned. I don't recommend it for anybody. And I know in one of your YouTube videos, you mentioned the same thing. It's just better to wait and get a bird that's weaned because you don't want to end up, overfeeding or something happening or, the bird, worst case scenario, dying. Like I've had people DM me and say that has happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. And that's why it's so important for, that information to be out there and for us to share that information.
Because they're technically not supposed to sell them when they're not weaned. And as well, I've had the same situation where a lot of people have messaged me. They have a 2-month-old bird and they're like, well, it's not eating like their solid food. And I'm like, yeah, you need to formula feed that bird. Or like they'll tell me, oh, it's so underweight, but it started to eat solids. And I'm like, that's too young. Like you need to be formula feeding. And it's just horrible because like a lot of breeders, they just don't care. They're like, oh yeah, just take the bird, give me like the $1,000, and they don't even let you know like stuff like that.
Yeah. They don't tell you anything. And this happens so often. And I hear about this a lot actually in North America, like in Canada and the States. And I just think it really needs to change because people are not able to care for these birds the way that they're supposed to. And you bring up a really good point, because a lot of people don't even know when to start weaning or how to do it, how to get them onto, a fresh, healthy diet, and how to introduce these foods, and like how to cook them or offer them, or, all these different things. And so it's a lot. So if you're listening, make sure you get a bird that's weaned so that you don't have to
Please.
go through all of this. And let's support like rescue centers, or like, breeders that are doing it properly and, in a good way, and caring for the birds, and not these pet stores, or, people just trying to sell birds, or capturing them in the wild and bringing them to North America and just selling them willy-nilly. That's the worst.
Please adopt, don't shop.
Yeah.
I know there's a conception that people want a baby bird because it'll bond to them more and it'll be more caring. But then, like, Luza was like, she was lovely. Like, she recuperated so much and she has been so sweet. And then, I saw this video where it was like, hey, adopt an older bird because you don't have to deal with their puberty either. And I was like, that's a good point.
Yeah, that was shared by Flock Talks today, I think. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of the times when you adopt an older bird, like all the health concerns have already been addressed, the behavioral stuff, the puberty, and all these different things. So there are benefits to adopting an older bird. I know a lot of people want like a baby so that they can tame them or bond with them and all these different things. But I think what people forget is that every bird is teachable. And birds are very specific pets. They're exotic, and they behave and think differently than like dogs or cats or bunnies or these other, hamsters or fish or typical pets that people have. And they are trainable, but they do require a lot of patience and consistency and education.
Honestly, yeah. And whether you get a baby bird or not, it's not guaranteed to bond with you either. Like, Luza wasn't a baby and she bonded to me immediately. I've heard of people who got baby birds and 2 months have passed and they're like, well, it still doesn't trust me. And I'm like, well, every bird has a different personality. Like, some are going to take longer than others.
Yeah. Actually, this ties really well into a question that I want to, this ties really well into a question that I wanted to ask you, which is, what are your bonding tips? So I get this question a lot, and I know you and I both have a video on bonding tips, but I want to hear from you. What are your like top tips for anybody who's listening that's like, I have a new bird, or I have a rescue, or I've had a bird for a long time and we're still not bonded. They still don't trust me. Mimi, what do I do?
Well, the big disclaimer I'm gonna put at the beginning is don't clip their wings. There's this huge misconception that people have where it's like, well, if I clip their wings, they're gonna bond to me easier. That's with fear. Like, you're literally tying them down where they're forced to trust you. That is not okay. There's a patience and there's a time for it, and you have to just gain that true trust. So first of all, they're gonna come scared. It's a new place, it's a new person. They don't know what's going on, and you're a giant to them. Like, you're not the same.
Put yourself in their shoes or in their claws.
Scared too. Giant captures me, and they're like, "You're mine now," and I'm like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, I always compare it to, like, I feel like I'm King Kong and Mia's like the little girl whenever I'm holding her, because it's like literally the same ratio.
It's the same ratio. I mean, unless you have a macaw, it's like half your size. But
yeah,
still,
but with small parrots or even medium-sized parrots, I feel like, it's scary for them. But I also want to throw in with wing clipping, like avoiding wing clipping is the best way to go, because there's no reason to take away what makes a bird, and that's flight.
Yeah.
And there are other things that we can do to prevent them from flying away. And there's other things we can do to bond with them and build trust. So putting up nets and mesh on all your windows and doors, being very like vigilant of like, oh, there's a delivery person at the door. I have to open the door. Then I need to put my bird in the bird room or in their cage. Like, make sure that you're aware of these kinds of things. Put stickers or like blinds on the windows so they avoid, flying into the windows and things like this. And I think that it's just important to also do like things like recall training and just really focusing on all of these little things. And over time, you're going to not have to worry about, oh, my bird's going to fly away or they don't trust me. So back to you on bonding.
Yeah. Back to me on which topic, because I can go on both.
So tell us your bonding tips.
Okay. So then, after giving them some time to get used to everything, and you see that they're not like hiding in a corner of their cage, you can definitely start. I would tell people, talk to them. Just talk to them really softly. Be like, hey, like, introduce yourself. Be like, how are you doing? Like, put some calming music if you have to. Just like keep at a distance. Don't like, a lot of people start touching the cage, trying to grab the bird, and it's
putting
like
their fingers through.
Yes, like don't do that. This cage is now their room, basically. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be like their room, and you don't want to invade that space because that's their safe zone right now. And so then afterwards, I always say, once you're comfortable, make sure your room is like safe, like the windows are closed, the blinds are closed so they can't bump into the window. They have the doors closed. Keep them in one rail and start opening their cage and let them know that they have the freedom to come out. And don't grab them, don't like harass them or anything, and just keep talking to them quietly. Some birds might fly, and you should give them like just space to just like roam around. They might go up somewhere, and just let them like feel that freedom, and then they will eventually come back to the cage. Like they need to eat, they need to do stuff, and then you can start offering them treats or something nice with your hands, and they might not take it. They might just be like, yeah, no, I'm good. But then if you do this every day and slowly start offering them things, then they're going to start, getting used to that and getting used to your hand. And then slowly they'll start going on your hand. And one of the weird tricks I have is to put their food on like a plate or bowl on top of their cage.
Okay.
This one is like
and why?
Really random one. So I discovered this because they eat on top of my cage. And I just discovered that when they have it on top, they know that to come back, kind of thing. So they know that that's their food and it's very visible, so they don't feel like if sometimes when they fly out, they might not want to go back in, but if they come back to that space where their food is very visible and out there, they start to get accustomed to being out of their cage but not running away from it, if that makes sense. So it's like a weird little like tip that I have. But yeah, you just keep getting them used to your hands. Don't shove it, don't force it, and eventually they'll get on. Talk to them softly, and that's usually like the way I go with recommending people to bond with their bird. It might be a little different than maybe other things, but I've just found that works pretty well.
Yeah, I think that those are all really great tips because you're moving slowly, you're being like really gentle, and we also have to be mindful that, like you said, we're these giants, everything is new, and change can be scary for birds. And they are also predator animals. So they're trying to figure out like what's safe, who can I trust? And it's going to take them time to, build that trust with you. And with some birds, it might take a couple of weeks. Like with Mia, the trust building like started like on day one. Like it was like very quick with her, but I know that from other people's experiences, it can also take months, but you just have to be consistent, and you have to understand that if you want a bird, then you need to have patience, because I know that this is something you and I both talk about a lot. They are like toddlers. And I loved you did a video on all the reasons why a bird is like a toddler. And I also love that you're like, before all the moms and parents come at me that you can't compare a bird to a child. Honestly, I agree with you. You can. Like, I actually used to be a teacher, so I worked with kids. So, they really are like toddlers. I always say that having a conure or a parrot is literally like having a flying toddler, or also with dinosaur tendencies. So it's like a flying dinosaur toddler is what you're getting. So you just need to be really patient when it comes to the bonding and the training, and step up training is another good one. And if they're like scared of your hands or they're biting, then there's other things that you need to do. But we're going to get on a whole tangent. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about, wing clipping and your experiences with Luza, because she was clipped for 4 years. And then I think in your video, you said that her flight feathers grew back in 3 months. Is that right?
They started to grow back, but they fully grew back after a year.
Oh, so it took a full year for all of them to grow back. And after 3 months, they started to grow back. Okay. So if somebody's bird has clipped wings and they're like, I want to help my bird fly again, I want them to grow their wing feathers. Tell us about your experiences and what you did and what you think of wing clipping.
Okay, first of all, I'm super against wing clipping unless for medical reasons. That is the only excuse. And by medical reasons, like for example, I forget the bird's name, but the one who doesn't grew without a tail. There's this really famous bird who attacks the girl's boyfriend, doesn't like him, and it doesn't have a tail. So for medical reasons, it's understandable that the wings are clipped because their tail is their little propeller. Lead them where to go. They don't have that, they're gonna crash.
Yeah,
that's understandable. Other than that, you don't have a reason to clip their wings. I've heard so many excuses on people on why they clip their wings. They're like, oh, they bumped into a wall, so I immediately clip their wings. They're stupid. Birds, yeah, I've heard that one's really common actually. Birds are like babies. When you have a kid, you have to teach them how to walk, and they might fall, they might bruise their knee or something, but they're fine. They're not gonna die. You're not about to tie their legs together and be like, now, oh my God, I'm scared you're going to fall.
Or cut their legs off.
Exactly.
So that they don't walk again.
Because the reason why I say the tie thing is because when I used to say that one, or like people would be like, but it doesn't hurt them. It's like cutting their hair. And I'm like, okay, so
it's
imagine
not.
tying someone's arm so it doesn't like smack into everything. So you can still walk around, right? But your arms are required for your balance too. So you're limiting and disabling purposely an animal, so they don't get in trouble, they don't get scared, they don't bump into things, but you're also negating the fact that you have a responsibility. You have brought an animal that is meant to fly. That flies. You are not taking the precautions of making your household safe for them. You have to hide wires, you have to put mesh, like you said, on the windows, on the doors. You have to add landing spots everywhere. You have to have taught them what windows are, and you have to allow them that space to practice flying. They're not gonna know how to do it immediately. And as well with what we were talking about, the taming, they're gonna be doing it out of fear. And there's people who say, oh, I'm going to temporarily do it, and then once they trust me, I'll let them grow their wings back. Well, no, that you literally just disabled your bird for your own benefit and not theirs.
And that's the best way to break trust with your bird.
Exactly.
And that's something that you don't want to do. And they need that exercise. Yeah.
They really need it. If they're in more danger of being clipped, if they fall to the ground, they're an easy target for anything. They can't fly back up. If they escape, God forbid they escape,
they can still fly away. Clipped wings.
They can still fly away.
Still help them fly.
That. And people clip their wings and they're like, oh yeah, now I can take them out. But if a gust of wind can still get them out, they're an easy target now. Hawks see them as they know they're disabled and they will easily grab them.
And they're brightly colored too.
They're so an easy target. So you're more likely to get back a full-flighted bird who is recall trained than a clipped bird. Sadly, I've never heard of a clipped bird getting back to their family. So,
oh my gosh.
It's horrible. Like, just for anyone who says wing clipping is fine, take a moment to ask yourself, is it okay that I'm purposely disabling an animal? Like, morally, is that okay?
Yeah.
Because it leads to health problems. It leads to mental health problems. They start ripping out their wings. Like what happened to Luza.
Because they get so frustrated. They're like, I want to do something that comes naturally to me and I can't do it anymore. And they look at you as being the reason why that's been taken away from them. And I wanted to also touch on the fact, something that you said, about how they need to get comfortable in their environment. And like when you bring a new bird home, you need to take the time to let them navigate and get to know the
Yeah.
space that they're now living in with you, and knowing like where they can land, where there are rooms, where there's windows, and all these different things. And over time, they'll get more comfortable and they're not going to be crashing into things or, trying to fly somewhere where they can't. They need that time. And if you want to take your bird outside, then there's carriers, there's backpacks. You can do harness training. I know that that's
Yeah.
really difficult. And I've heard that that's like, the
I'm
highest
working on
level of training. Yeah, but I also want to work on that because I know it's really great for socialization and desensitization and all these different things. But again, like we mentioned before, it is something that requires you to be persistent, consistent, patient, and you have to be prepared that these things can take a lot of time, sometimes
a
months.
lot. Yeah. I mean, there's also, you can build outdoor aviaries, or you can pay a professional to free flight train your bird as
Yeah.
well if you want to do that. And it's just doing it by the book kind of
Yeah.
thing. And as well, like I say, it's not enough to, like, you can't clip your birds and expect them not to fly. That is such a risk.
Yeah.
Like a horror.
So tell me about your experience with Luza. So when you got her, she had already been clipped for 4 years, and did she have any issues because of that other than the plucking? Like, did she have like muscular atrophy or anything else?
Yes, she had really, like, when I touched here, this, I don't know anatomy of a bird, but when you touched here, it was very thin. Now it's thick. Like, she got muscles now. But it was very thin.
She was never working those muscles.
No, not at all. And she was on a very poor diet. So when she was trying to grow back her feathers, because she didn't have those nutrients to grow back proper feathers, they would just either break, they'd come in very broken, or they would just fall off. So it took her a few cycles to get those feathers in. And there actually is on one wing, like about 2 or 3, that just absolutely never grew back because there was so much trauma to that area.
Oh my gosh. But she still can fly now, and she's a strong flyer.
Very strong, yeah. She's a helicopter flyer. We call her a helicopter because you go.
Oh my, that's so lovely to hear. She is in such great hands, and I'm so happy that she ended up in your home. So tell me a little bit, or run me through, like, what did you do to help her so that she could grow those feathers back, so that she could build that muscle, and so that she can get flying again?
So at first, it was really scary because she would see my other birds flying, and she'd be like, I want to try that. And she immediately just threw herself off the cage and started flapping her little, like, non-existent wings. And she had a broken blood feather after that. So I had to rush her to the vet, get it removed. And I was like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that. That was my irresponsibility. So I had to start putting towels down and keeping her on lower ground, because she never saw before other birds flying. She wasn't aware she could even do that. Like, you could tell she was like, I can do that. She just went for it.
Oh my gosh.
So that was she would attempt it many times. So we had some watch her and be ready to catch her, and not put her in any high places, because she was determined. She had a lot of interest, and I want to do that too. So then we had to wait for a certain amount of, I'm sorry, let me know if they're being too loud.
No, it's fine.
So there had to be a certain amount of flight feathers for her to at least start taking a bit of a glide. And so once that started happening, she started, like, she would learn how to glide down from a low chair onto the floor, and she just basically go woo like that. So the more feathers she got, she, like, started gliding, but starting to flap her wings, and she would just glide straight down. But it was a start. She was starting to build muscles. So then soon after, we started getting her to continue do that. And then once she started being able to pick up a bit of height, I had to catch her at the end, or be like, come here. And then that's when the recall training started. And then I'll still always remember the day where she did a full flight from my room to my parents' room, which is across the hall, and landed pretty well on the ceiling fan, aka the merry-go-round. And so, and we were like, oh my God, she did it. She
That's
flew.
amazing.
We all celebrated. It was absolutely amazing. I was so happy. And then after that, Mango was helping her a lot, following her through and kind of going like beep beep, I guess giving her instructions. But
But it was also good for her to like have another bird to see like what the other bird is doing when they're flying. And I know you mentioned that in your video as well, that it's good to have flighted birds so that the bird with clipped wings can observe and see and like learn from that bird.
yes, 100%. Because otherwise, I don't think she would have picked up flight so quickly. Because a year in retrospect is a very short time
Yeah.
to achieve what she did. So I think it helped. I think Mango and Kiwi were the main reasons she learns how to fly so quickly because they really took care of her a lot. And you can hear them instructing her when she was flying, telling her things. So it was really amazing.
So having a really safe space, I think, is like the first thing, and just having like a lot of padding and soft landing spots or being able to like catch them, because you said that there was the broken blood feather. Now, I've never experienced this and I've not talked to anybody who's experienced this. So what did you do in that situation? Just for anybody, for the future, like if there's a broken feather or there's a blood feather and they're bleeding, what are like the first steps that you need to do as you rush to the avian vet?
So your best friend is going to be cornstarch with any type of bleeding. Always have handy a little jar of cornstarch because you shouldn't be using or flour, but best is cornstarch. It's a natural coagulant. So put that on any spot that's bleeding. Just powder it on if you have to. It's safe for them. Don't use any gels, anything like that. If it's bleeding very profusively, put pressure with a towel. Pull them down so they don't start flapping their wings and making another movement because you don't know the level of blood loss and birds can bleed out easily, very, very quickly. So then they have very few blood in their body. So you take them to the vet. The vet will have to take out that full feather because it's no longer going to be useful. And then they seal that wound and that's pretty much it. But just with any wounds that's bleeding, corn, starch, and pressure.
Yeah, I think this is also why it's so important to have like an avian vet that you like develop a relationship with, where they are. And it's also good to have like a backup avian vet in case they're closed or the vet's out of town or something, because you never know when something can happen. And that's, the thing with accidents, they can happen at any time. So,
yes. And the biggest thing I tell people is that if you're going to get a bird, check if you have an avian vet nearby. Because regular vets aren't going to know what to do well. Like at most they might be able to just cut their nails, but that's about it. Like they're not trained because avian veterinaries graduate from veterinary school and then they do a specialty, another few years to specialize in exotic pets. Yeah. So please make sure you have an avian vet nearby. Don't just get a bird and then when something happens, message people asking them, well, what's my bird? Well, I don't have access to an X-ray machine. I don't have access to an MRI machine, blood results. Like you need these kinds of things.
Yeah. I always tell people when they DM or send a message or an email like, oh, what's wrong with my bird? Or these are the symptoms. I'm not an avian vet. I'm not qualified to give you a diagnosis or help you in that way. You have to see an avian vet. There's a really great online service called Vetster, and they have like online vets and including avian vets. But that's when you need a little bit of like quick advice, like something over Zoom or something like that. But when you need to do like testing or x-rays or get them checked and, touched in their body parts and whatnot, that needs to be something like in person. And if there's no avian vets, it's going to be really difficult for you if you ever have like a situation where you need to go to the vet.
Yeah, exactly. Because like the most I can tell you is, that looks like plucking, take them to a vet. Or your bird looks sick, take them to a vet. Like I can let you know that the cues that they're showing you should be worried about. But aside from that, I can't tell you, oh, it's a bacterial infection. Oh, it's an ulcer. Oh, like they ate something toxic. Like I can't. I don't have any access to that.
Yeah. So since we're talking on this, I know that you also have a video on 10 ways to avoid your bird from getting sick or to prevent illness. So we don't have to go over all of them, but I'd like you to share, like, what are your top 5 or top 3 tips for somebody to avoid and prevent sickness in your bird so that you don't have to go for as many avian vet visits. I mean, accidents happen, so we're not talking about accidents anymore, because if that happens, you need an avian vet. But we want to, have birds that are healthy and happy. And so, what are Mimi's top 5 tips to keep your bird healthy?
One, cleanliness. Don't let them be sitting in poopy perches, poopy cages. If they eat fruits and wipe it on the cage, that's gonna be a harvest area for bacteria. Don't do it. It's very easy to keep a cage tidy, and yeah, sucks to clean. Nobody loves it, but it's necessary. You gotta keep your children healthy.
Yeah. How often do you clean your cage?
I'll do like deep clean maybe once a week. Clean the room, probably vacuum and do a wipe every day. And then once like too much like stuff has started to build up, that's like the once a week we'll really scrub that out. Since they're like out all the time for me, like their whole room is like their bird room. There's windows and doors and everything I need to clean.
Yeah,
So,
they poop on everything.
absolutely everything.
I find poop everywhere. Today, Mia was like on the back of my chair eating a biscuit and just like pooping out the back. So I have poop all down the back of my chair. She was getting biscuit all over my hair, my shirt, my chair. All the floor is just covered in bird poops. I find bird poops like on the baseboards sometimes. I'm like, how did that even get there? Down the washroom door. I'm like, what? There's poop everywhere.
What you mean. Sometimes my parents, because they free roam our house too with supervision, and my dad will be like, "Well, the stairs," and I'm like, "What?" Or he'll come and be like, "Behind the TV, please clean," and I'm like, "Whoa, where did that get there?"
Yeah, that's something that comes with birds is bird poop everywhere.
Avoid it. You gotta clean it. And
yeah.
For people who are like, I'm keeping them in cage because I don't want them pooping everywhere, don't get a bird. You're gonna have to deal with the poop. Sorry.
Yeah. Even if you potty train them or like they have designated areas, they're still gonna poop other places. And it's not a good thing to make them hold in their poop.
No.
They need to go when they need to go, and they just go.
When I did my potty training video, people, I don't like when people teach them to poop in a toilet, for example. Toilets, they can fall in a toilet and they can die. Like, don't teach them that toilet's like a normal place. And the most I did was just teach them to, like, fly back to their space, poop, and then come back, but not to hold it and not like,
or in the sink or in the shower without the water running is okay too. But I agree with the toilet. And sometimes people have those like chemical things in the toilet to keep them fresh or to keep them clean, and you don't want anything to happen.
It's not good. Like, just maybe at most, like, for example, mine, they're very kind. They don't poop on me. They actually like tell me, "Oh, put me like on the computer," and then they poop, and I'd rather clean the computer than wash my clothes. So I'm like, "Thank you."
I'm the opposite. I would rather them not poop on my computer or any of my technology. Poop on my shirt because I can wash that. Actually, on a quick note, Mango had pooped on my laptop actually a few times. And there was one time I had to go get it serviced. And when they took it apart, they were like, "There's all this stuff in your keyboard and all this corrosion. Like, I can't even pinpoint what this is. It doesn't look like food or like a water spill or anything like that, but there's something there." And I'm like, "It's bird poop."
That explains that one.
So I'm the opposite in that sense, but that is so lovely that Mango and Luza are so polite and they're like, "Please put me somewhere so I can poop instead of on your hair or your clothes, Mom."
Yeah, no, really. They don't poop on the keyboard. They poop like on the back of the monitor, and because of the material, it's very easy just to wipe down.
Yeah, that's all right.
Fabric or something. So yes. Can I help you? Yes.
Mango's like, "I have something to say on the podcast too." Mom, tell them, what else do people need to do to keep their birds healthy?
What?
Because we were talking about cleaning the cage regularly and cleaning the poops and things building up. So what are some other things that people should be mindful of to avoid their birds from getting sick?
Definitely avoid any chemical hazards like spraying Febrezes or perfumes or cooking on Teflon. Those things are all like any carcinogen, because if you light a candle, that smoke is a carcinogen. If you cook from a stove, that is a carcinogen. Like the sprays
Yeah.
are chemical. And people have to understand birds have very small lungs and they function quick. So any chemical that's going through there is going to reach through their body much faster than for us, for example, because what we might whiff in of smoke is like this amount compared to our body, compared to a bird who's this size, this amount is just going to circulate very quickly, and it can cause them to get sick, or sometimes even kill them the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a huge one as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's so many things that as a bird parent, you have to get rid of. Like I was previously talking on another podcast episode with somebody, I think it was with Alex, about how I used to love Bath and Body Works, but now there's no Bath and Body Works in my home, and there hasn't been in years. No candles, no body sprays. I don't even use the deodorants that are spray. It has to be like a roll on, and like everything, even like the dish soap, it's like the eco-friendly, unscented, so there's a lot of changes that you have to make sure that you're keeping your pets healthy.
Like cleaning with vinegar and water. You cannot use cleaning supplies to clean around your bird. That's something that people really have to be aware of. I know that other ingredients that are fine are lemon, orange peels, baking soda. Like those are all like safe for them.
Yeah.
But personally, vinegar and water, that has been the cleaning supply since like the dawn of time, and it's great for windows, it's great for doors, it's great for floors. Like honestly, I fell in love with it. It's an all for one, and I save money on cleaning supplies too.
Yeah.
So
and it's better for us too, because then we're not breathing in those chemicals, and we already live in such a toxic world. Like our food is toxic, the air is polluted, like all these different health issues for humans, aside from birds, are coming up and becoming a lot more common because our world, like the products that we put on our skin, that we're breathing in. So our birds actually help us eliminate all of those toxins and chemicals from our own lives as well. And I think that has a good impact on our health.
Yeah, I don't think we realize that so many of these things affect us in the long run too, because there's so many cases of more health problems coming out with the more chemicals we have in our things, more pollution, more processed food, and it's just, if anything, our birds are saving us.
Yeah. In your video was about leaving food out in the sun. And I want you to talk a little bit about why. Like when it's really hot, or like they're outside, or they're right by the window by the sunlight, why shouldn't we have fresh food for a long time out there?
Basically when the sun hits or your room is very warm and humid, that is a breeding ground for bacteria. If you just leave it out, bacteria is going to start to build up there. They love warmth, they love humidity, they love wetness, and fruit. You'll even sometimes attract fruit flies, if anything, and you definitely don't want them touching your bird stuff. So just keeping that out, and suddenly this fresh, nice, healthy fruit becomes like a bacteria fruit. It kind of loses its purpose, and it's just gonna get them sick. I mean, imagine you leave out your fruit platter in the sun all day, and then by the end of the day, go try it. You're gonna taste the difference for sure, and it might even make you throw up.
We should mention, and it's probably one of the most important in keeping your bird healthy, is diet. Mia, you tell everybody, how important is diet? A healthy diet, I feel like, can make all the difference. And you were even saying like the feathers change, their colors get brighter, their eyes get brighter, they are just healthier overall. And I think that is something that's really important when it comes to our pet birds.
My birds have never let me hold them like that. I'm so jealous.
Do you know what? She is a little cuddle bug, and we're going to talk a little bit about sun conures after, and I'm going to ask you about Quakers as well, because having Mango and then having Mia going from a sun conure to a green cheek, I thought that they would be so similar, and they're so different. Mango also almost never let me do this. He like maybe 3 or 4 times he let me do this.
Yeah.
He was not into it, but he loved going inside of my shirt and like hanging out and cuddling inside of my shirt, whereas she doesn't do that at all. She's like, no, why am I even in your shirt? Get me out of here. She's gone in my shirt, I think like 2 times, and she's like snuggled in like the shoulder, like hiding under my hair. But she doesn't like to go in my shirt, but she loves to snuggle in my hair. She loves to like, she'll climb into my hand. Like she just climbed down and she's like, where's your hand? Hold me. I am an ice cream. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh.
She was like, no, I'm not an ice cream.
Oh, sorry. Not an ice cream. You're a burrito.
Bird Dorito.
Yeah, so diet is really important when it comes to our birds. And yeah, I guess since we're talking about conures and Quakers and their differences, let's jump into talking about sun conures. We'll start off with sun conures because your mango reminds me of my mango, but your mango is a girl. Mine was
Yes,
a boy. It's a unisex name, but I also find that I thought that we picked the most unique name when we got him. And then I jumped on social media and created them a social media page. And I was like, every sun conure on the planet is named Mango or Sunny, but usually Mango.
Yeah, usually mango. It's so, I don't even care. It's cute. I love it.
I know. I love it too. So I want you to tell me a little bit about, or tell everybody a little bit about what it's like to live with a sun conure. And I know you also have a video, The Ugly Truth of Having a Sun Conure, and I watched that one and I was like, I relate, I relate, I relate,
Yeah.
I also relate. There was most of the things I was like, yes, that is like our mango too. So share with us a little bit about life with a sun conure and what that's like.
So, yes, Mango, I'm going to talk about you. So,
We promise to be nice, Mango.
if she lets me. Like, nobody will know the truth. Well, the biggest thing that...
They're loud. That's one thing that we can both say is they're loud.
Sun conures reach 110 decibels.
I thought it was 120.
That's the max recorded, but on average is 110 decibels.
Okay.
So keep in mind, to people, the human ear, I believe, can only withstand 85 decibels. And in long term, 20 to 40 years, you will start having problems with your hearing.
It's very possible because they are very loud, especially when they're like on your shoulder or somewhere nearby and they scream. You can like feel this like ringing. You're like, whoa, that was deep into my drum.
Yeah. So sadly, it does start to cause some damage, very large possibility. So that's just the biggest warning, because a lot of people see sun conures and they see their colors and they're beautiful and they're like, I want that bird. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Just because they're colorful does not mean they're the right bird for you. So if you live in an apartment, you're probably gonna get kicked out.
You're gonna get a lot of noise complaints.
A lot. Even if it's a pet friendly apartment, it's they tend to throw tantrums and start screaming at you very often. If they don't get what they want, they're extremely sassy, very, very sassy birds.
Big personalities.
Big personality. They're stubborn, and if they don't get what they want, they're gonna threaten your life. But the nice thing about them, I find sun conures a very kind personality regardless. They're not ones to just randomly attack people. They're usually very cuddly. They're very gentle. I mean,
when they want to be.
When they want to be. I mean, a conure has a very strong bite. So if you get bitten like to bleeding with a conure, you did something wrong. You definitely did something wrong. It still happens. It's hard to read their body language. Sometimes we make our errors. But it's just to keep in mind, their beaks are much stronger than, let's say, a cockatiel or a budgie. So it's gonna hurt for it. They love going in your shirt, like you said.
They can be cuddly, but I feel like they're cuddly, but only like in certain ways. Like they like to be near you or on you or in your shirt, but they don't want you to hold them. They don't want to always be pet, but they always want to be around. Like they get a lot of FOMO, I feel like. They're like, where is the action? I need to be there. Otherwise they get FOMO. But another thing, and maybe you have a different experience, is I find that they, especially compared to a green cheek, are a lot more destructive. Like you were saying, they have stronger beaks. And like with
Yeah.
Mango, I would get him a lot of like wooden toys and he would just like destroy
Yes.
them.
Like
Whereas
it's
with
paper.
Mia, she's never like destroyed a wooden toy. It's always like
Really?
the soft Planet Pleasures toys or like the paper, like natural cork and things like that. But if it's like a wooden toy, she'll nibble on the edges and then she's like, I'm finished. Whereas Mango would just destroy it. His beak was way stronger.
Yeah, no, for us, she started destroying the door frames, the window frames, and my dad was not having it.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we actually came up with this great idea. I don't know. Let me pull this up. You can see a little bit of cardboard there.
Oh yeah.
So we stuck some cardboard on the frames. So she just breaks apart that cardboard instead.
That's a good idea.
We just replace it after it's destroyed. So we have it on the bathrooms, we have it on my room, because they're always here, right? But for my parents' room, I did teach her no, so she stopped biting it. It's just that because they're here, she gets frustrated sometimes. This is their playroom, basically. So
Yeah.
I resolved it with that mainly. So it's just protecting our things. But if you're gonna leave something out that looks like a wonderful toy, I recommend hiding it. They will get to it.
Yes. And you also mentioned in your video, and I wanted to pick your brain about this a little bit, because our Mango didn't bite us a lot of times, but the few times, I think like maybe 2 times he bit my husband, the bite was definitely a lot stronger than Mia's. With Mia, it's like very like, oh, that's fine. Like she's never even broken skin with her bites. Whereas Mango, just like that bite, he already broke the skin. And you mentioned that Mango dislocated your finger. That's how strong their beaks are. So tell me what happened. How did Mango dislocate your finger?
So we all know that. No, stop bullying her.
So I did my research.
I'm surprised. I'm like, oh my god. So we all know conures like to sometimes like wrestle with their feet and stuff and go upside down. So I was just kind of like playing around with her. She went upside down and wanted to grab like my finger. So she grabs my finger and then she clenches her beak on it. And she thinks we're playing, so she doesn't realize my finger is very soft. And they don't realize how much strength they have.
Yeah.
And so I was gonna show you, but now my fingers are in. So basically, she grabbed it. I was trying to pull it away one direction. She started twisting a different direction, and then it hurt a lot. And before I knew it, when I looked at my finger, the bone was out, like shifted over, and it was just because of the directional pull. And I couldn't bend my finger, and it was dislocated. I was like, oh man, okay, cool.
Wow, that's crazy. And that just goes to show like they don't know their actual strength. Like they can dislocate your finger. So you need to be really careful even when you're just playing with them. My gosh, Mango, you are strong. Now, do you also find that sun conures can be like possessive or jealous more than other types of birds? I know you have experience with Quakers and budgies.
And cockatiels.
Oh, and cockatiels.
And we had a Linny as well. We've always had in the past.
Wow, that's awesome. So yeah, do you find that they tend to be a little bit more jealous or possessive?
With the Mango, I find that she's just clingy.
Okay.
She doesn't really get jealous. She wants the attention, but if it's getting given to someone else, she just kind of sits there and goes like, hey, can I have some too, kind of thing. Compared to Quakers. Quakers are terrifying.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I wanted to ask you because you had mentioned in your videos that you find that sun conures can be jealous and possessive, and that Quakers can also be quite aggressive and mean. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about that. And like, do you find that with your birds? Do you think it's like an individual thing, or do you think it's more of like a species thing, especially after having 2 Quakers?
For Quakers, it's definitely a species thing. There's some
Okay.
people who fit the outlier thing, but even when you ask the veterinaries, they know the stereotypes for every species. So when you go to them, they're like, ah, yeah, that's just a Quaker. Oh yeah, it's just a sun conure. So so I do like, luckily, my birds have gotten very accustomed to my mom, my dad, and me. We're always with them, and my mom and dad are the only ones who can take care of them because they like them. But sometimes Mango decides that someone's the enemy for a day, and she doesn't want them to pick them up, but she warns them. She's kind of like, I'm telling you, if you try and pick me up, I'm gonna bite you. And so, oh, goodbye, Mango.
Oh, I miss when Mango used to do that. He would do this funny thing and he would like go here, flip. I'd have like his feathers in my face and then he would flip over and his head would pop up. And I'm like,
Oh,
you're such a gymnast.
she doesn't usually pop her head out. She like buries herself in there and just, she likes to be held in this like underneath the shirt. And yeah.
So cute.
But aside from that, I find Quakers are more of the jealous type, because Luza will choose someone every day that she likes, and then everyone else she hates. So if, let's say, my dad is the chosen one, she'll go to my dad, cling to him, and if I even come near my dad, she'll like lunge at me. So I'm like, well, I feed you, I take care of you, but that's good to know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, birds are like, I will trade you for a Nutriberry or my favorite nut, whatever it is, almond, pistachio, walnut. I don't care. That's more important to me. And you're like, I would give my life for you.
Really? And they're like, I trade you for a corn chip.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, really.
Tell me a little bit about like the puberty difference, because that's something that I also saw you talk a lot about. And what was the difference like going through puberty with Mango versus Luza or Kiwi?
So I went through the puberty with Kiwi because I got Luza at 4 years old. Their puberty literally basically hits around 1 year old for this species.
For Quakers.
For Quakers and for sun conures, it
Yeah.
hits about at a year old. So starting with the sun conures, because it's later than the Quakers, sun conures during their puberty get to tend to get like extra sassy. They're like, I'm gonna just be stubborn. If you say no, I'm probably gonna bite you. Let me do what I want. Mango used to just,
It's kind of like the terrible twos, but it's like, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So
although it can start at 1, 2, or I think 3 years old, depending on the bird.
Yeah, the
with
larger
conures.
they are, the later they start usually.
Yeah.
But for smaller birds, I know it's maybe around like 6 months to 8 months. For a medium, it's usually around 1, and for large birds, usually around like 2 or 3 years old. So for her, she used to flip all the water bowls and laugh. So I'd have water spilled everywhere. I wish I found out those like that wooden thing with the water bowls that I didn't have before, so she couldn't flip them. And then she would love to go in her pellet bowl and just start tossing pellets like crazy. And she
Mango used to do that too. I was like, what are you doing? Why are you swimming in the pellets? They're flying everywhere.
We find so much amusement with it. She definitely got very angry at cell phones. So if you picked up your cell phone, she would lunge and almost tear out your eye. So cell phones had to be taken in very like quiet, like phone calls basically. So you had to take a phone call very like sneakily or put it on speaker. But even on speaker, she'd hear a voice she didn't like recognize, and she'd start doing that dangerous dance.
Oh yeah, I'm getting angry. I'm gonna attack.
That was Mango's. Honestly, after going through a Quaker Parrot puberty, I find hers was like just annoying, but it wasn't bad.
Okay, so it sounds like Quakers are a bigger handful.
The most common time that Quakers get rehomed is at a year old. It is very.
So it's when they're going through that puberty.
Yes, because people don't expect it. They're like, my bird suddenly hates me, it's biting me, it's lunging at me, like what's going on? I don't understand. And I'm like, well, how old are they? And they're like, a year old. And I'm like, welcome to puberty.
So how can someone like help their parrot through puberty and like help them through all of this, aggression and annoying moments that people have?
So usually like their hormones are going everywhere. It's good to just be aware of that because they're having as hard of a time as we are. So give them their space. If they're getting aggressive, if they're moody, just leave them alone. It's okay. Like a lot of the times I just had to back up and be like, okay, I'd leave the house. I'd go and do my thing, and then when I come back, they were more chilled out. Baths help so much. Offer them baths. I always talk about bringing your birds into the shower with you so they enjoy like the sauna. That chilled them out so much. After like their sauna time, they were like, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's also like soothing probably for their skin as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
especially
good
when
for
they're molting.
Yes, amazing. Or if you have birds with a lot of dander, like cockatiels or African greys,
Yeah.
helps with that a lot because of the humidity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else.
Chamomile tea, some like calming stuff, or even chamomile
Yes.
flowers. I love offering Mia flowers.
Oh, you know what? I haven't done that before. I should probably test that out. I have some flowers downstairs.
Yeah, I actually buy, there's a brand here in Europe, I think it's called Vita Line or Vita Pole, and they have all these different like dried fruits and dried veggies and dried flowers, and they have like mixes. So I get them and I usually make her like a nice little dry mix and I include all of these different things, and I like to put them in foraging trays too, because then she nibbles a little bit on everything and it gives her a variety so she can kind of figure out what flowers she really likes, and she seems to really like chamomile, roses, and hibiscus.
Okay. I should probably try that. My birds, like, I always encourage foraging trays, but my birds hate it.
Really?
They are
Mia
not
loves it. Look,
interested.
I repurpose like the bottom of these trays on her bird stands too, and I add some like shredded paper, and I just toss in a bunch of different things, pellets and some healthy seeds and the flowers and some dried veggies or fruit, and she just like has been busy. Before she was napping, then she wanted to be an ice cream. Actually, no, she screamed at me for that. She wanted to be a burrito, and now she's just foraging. So
Yeah, no, I was gonna build a new stand for my desk, and I was gonna try the foraging thing one more time because I've tried on so many different like methods, and they just look at it and they're like, "Is this?" And I'm like, "Try it out, look for things," and they're like, "No."
you know what? You know what I also found that my mango really liked is when I used an egg carton. And sometimes like parrot shops will have like clean ones that there's no bacteria and stuff. And I would put stuff in the egg carton. And then I would put like toy pieces from the Planet Pleasures toys that we'd have like left over. Or I would put like crunched up paper or shredded paper. And he seemed to really like that. But I've also seen people repurposing those dog snuffle mats or the puzzle toys, and they teach their birds how to use those and they forage that way. So it doesn't always have to be like a tray, but you could like do it in a different way, maybe. Try.
I've tried even the egg carton.
Really?
I'm struggling.
Maybe it'll just take time, because sometimes even like with
So,
Mia, if I get like a new toy or a new stand, sometimes she's like not interested for like a week or two. And then once she gets into it, she just has to look at it and see it for like weeks. And then she's like, I love this now. I'm like, great, finally.
I think so too. I'm thinking maybe it could birds are so picky, it could go down to just the color of the paper. Like so
They're all individuals and they have their preferences too. I mean, I love turquoise. Everything has to be turquoise or else I'm not having it.
Mine's always like the Bulbasaur color from like Pokemon. Everything's like this color.
I love it.
Color. Yeah, the little mid color.
I
So
even have like this like little turquoise glow.
I love it.
Create a vibe.
It gives a really nice like look to it.
Yeah, so Quaker parrots, you were telling me about Quaker parrots, and we were talking about how to help your bird through puberty. And tell me a little bit more about Quaker parrots. Like, what is it like to live with them? What are their personalities like? And how different are they from a conure?
Quaker parrots, to anyone who truly owns a Quaker parrot, they're little demons. Everyone says that.
They're little what?
Demons.
Oh my gosh.
Little, like, man, they are mischievous. They love pranking you. They think it's funny to bite you. They'll like laugh about it. They'll like nip you, but not like to bleeding. Like they'll just like bite you and then go ha 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 and they'll run away. You're like, thanks.
Sneaky.
They'll like chase you off the bed sometimes and laugh about it. They think it's so funny. They love scaring strangers and they'll laugh about it again.
Oh my
I never recommend them as family birds. They don't do well with children. They're definitely not family birds. They're very clingy and jealous. They have no issue throwing themselves at people to rip their face apart.
Oh my God. That's so intense. But you know what? I've heard that Quaker parrots can be really loud. I think it was Courtney from Flock Talks. She said that she finds her Quaker parrot to be louder than her conure.
I find like sun conure or conure?
A conure, a green cheek.
After I thought Quakers are loud. It's just once you have a sun conure,
they're not as loud anymore. If you have a sun conure or a Gende conure, unless you get big birds after that, no bird will be louder.
Like, I know Quakers go between 90 to 100 decibels. I think 100 is the max. But aside from that, like Luza is more high pitch. She was much louder than Kiwi. Kiwi was he was pretty quiet for a Quaker actually. Like he was like more on the quiet side. He just liked to be mischievous. And obviously, like, I should mention, like, it's to different extremes for every Quaker, but someone mentioned this really funny thing where it's only green Quakers. And it's true.
Oh.
It's Quakers that are so evil. I've never seen a blue or yellow or white Quaker acting up. It's always the green ones.
Interesting. It's so interesting. And I really wonder why, but will we ever know? Will there ever be like science or studies done specifically on green Quakers? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's not enough studies and like information and science and all this kind of stuff on all of these different species and behaviors of parrots compared to like other animals.
Yeah, no, it was when the person pointed it out, I thought about it and I'm like, I did a poll even on like my story and people were like, all the people said yes had green Quakers. And I was like, everyone who said no had like blue or yellow or white. And I was like,
that's so interesting. Okay. We learned something about green Quakers today.
Specifically.
So do you find that Luza or Kiwi would be like more bitey than mango or your budgie or cockatiel?
100%. Like they found it a game to get you mad or annoyed and run away laughing. But then once they laughed, it was so funny that you couldn't get annoyed. And it was just their way of playing. Obviously, like you can teach them like don't do that or don't be so rash. But the thing about Quakers that people have to understand is they like to play like that, but they have this threshold where they get so overstimulated and emotional that it goes from I'm playing with you to I want to kill you.
Oh my gosh. That escalated quickly.
Yeah. It's like this little fine line.
Everything's honky-dory and then all of a sudden they're trying to rip the skin off your face.
Yeah, it's literally because, and then it's really hard to calm them down after they reach that like threshold where they're too excited. They don't know what to do with their emotions. Yeah. And then they need to bite you. And that's where like I've gotten like the bleeding on my hands and stuff because it's hard to tell that little threshold point because it's so thin.
Okay, so we know more about Quakers, but Luza talks a lot. She's bilingual. And I saw a couple of clips of her talking and she's in the shower and chatting in Spanish and chatting in English. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mia can only say her name. I've been trying to get her to say, I love you or mom or mama. Like if she said mama, I would lose my mind and I would melt into a puddle into the floor and be so happy and filled with love. But I know that conures, they're really good at like mimicking. Like our Mango, he mimicked so much stuff. Laughs, sneezes, doorbells, you name it. And Mia, I feel like she tries to say things, but I don't know what she's talking. Like she's just talking in bird language, except for her name. She like says, Mia, Mia. And she says it the exact same way that I say it to her. So yeah, I think that that's really adorable, but I just haven't been able to teach her like more words. So how did you teach Luza to say all of these different phrases and words and be so talkative?
So when we adopted her, she already knew a lot.
Oh, okay.
And it was at first it was a coping mechanism because she was left alone a lot, and to bring people's attention, she would talk. So when she would get stressed out at first when we got her, that's when she started like chatting, because she knew if she started saying, like, she understood that humans found it really, oh wow, look, she's talking, give her attention. So it took some time to get her to understand, like, you can talk because you're happy. So now, like, now she talks because she's just happy, and she knows she gets all the attention in the world no matter what she does. So
she's like, I'm back. You're so cute. I love you.
Oh my goodness. So there are some things that, she's learned. She picks up a lot of stuff. So things that I don't realize I say so much, like, the other day she comes out with the most random stuff. She said in Spanish, like, quiero otra doctora, and that basically means I want another doctor. And I'm like,
so random.
It was so random, and I was like, where did you learn that?
Hola, Luza, ¿cómo estás?
Or even like she would like I didn't realize I said this so much, but then one day, like, when I did something, she was like, oh my god, and I was like, whoa. Sorry.
Do you have that on video?
There's so many things she says. Like, her vocabulary is huge, and I can't get half of it on video.
I know, it's so hard. She only says her name, and I have struggled to get it on camera. Every time I fumble with my phone and get it on video and record, she stops. Yeah. She like knows.
But like, Lucy understands the context of everything. Like, it's like a whole other level of she can talk. If I'm like poking around with her and like it's going like this, and she wants me to stop, she'll go, stop it. I'll lay my hands off. But she only says it when she's annoyed. Like, she doesn't.
Oh my gosh. What a smarty pants.
She's very smart. She's thirsty. She'll say water, water, and I'll bring her water and she'll drink water. So it's really amazing. But then for people who want to teach their birds to talk, the biggest thing I say is just talk to, like, the biggest thing you start with is just saying hi every day. Hi, 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 and then like, and associate it with something. Like, don't just randomly look at them, go hi, 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 hi. Like,
yeah.
And then eventually, like, it takes longer for some, shorter for others, but eventually they're gonna see you and go hi, because they'll understand. You see them, you say hi. And then reward them every time they try, or you say hi and be like something like that. So there's positive reinforcement, because there's some people who like to like in an abusive way take away food until they say something, or they'll like ignore them if they don't say something, or just like or they'll just repeat consistently. Like, I've heard people say, oh, I just started playing the same song over and over again for 24 hours until they learned it, and I was like,
oh my gosh, that's not the way to go about it.
Yeah, no. So it's honestly,
I think one, like, birds are really smart. So over time, they're going to understand the context and when to use it. Like you were saying, like, every time you come in, you say hi. Then they're going to start to realize, like, oh, when we haven't seen each other and we see each other again, that's when we say hi, which also goes to show like their intellect level and just how smart they are, and how we really need to learn more about them if we want to have them as pets, because they are really smart and they are really intelligent, and they need that, like, understanding and training and stimulation and enrichment and all these different things.
I don't think people give them enough credit. Like, I don't understand where the saying bird brain came from and stuff like that. I'm like, birds are incredibly intelligent, like extremely. And they like, the more I find that they become more intelligent, the more time and love you give them.
Yeah.
Like, I just found that. It's like when I come home, Mango's always at the window and she sees me when I come home into the driveway and she goes, "Hi!"
That is so cute. That's the best greeting ever.
Like, oh god, hi.
I'm so happy to be home.
It's so cute.
Oh
So
my gosh.
it's just that's just the result of lots of love and lots of attention. Like that's the what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the talking thing really quickly, I think that it also makes a difference. And I think you've mentioned this before, is like the way you say it and like putting emphasis into word, like emphasis into the word, like when you were like, hi, like it's more high pitched. And
Yeah.
there, I feel vocals are a lot more high pitched. So when you change the way that you say it, it's easier for them to pick up. Like Mia doesn't say her name Mia, and my husband always says Mia, Mia. Like he's not like, I guess, as high pitched as I can be
Yeah.
sometimes, where I'm always like,
Yeah, they
I
excited.
get
Like,
so excited. And so I
yeah.
think that's why she picked it up, because I'm always so excited, like saying her name. So I think that maybe if you say words in a more excited way, they'll pick
Yeah,
it up more.
for sure. Because they just stand out and it's positive. They understand tones because
Right.
birds communicating is tones, tonal language.
Yeah.
So when you say something in a peppy, happy voice, they're like, "Oh my god, wait, I like this. It's a good thing. So let me try it out too."
Cute. I'm going to wrap things up with one more question that I wanted to ask you, and then I'm going to ask you some fun questions.
Okay.
So I wanted to know a little bit, or I want you to share with everybody a little bit about how you turned your room into like a partial bird room. Like, what did you do to make it like super safe and like make sure that they have everything that they need and they don't get into things that they shouldn't, to make it a safe environment for them so that they can be engaged and not caged all the time?
Well, I rent the corner of this room. I live in the closet basically, but that's their room. So one of the biggest things is the bird tree that my parents built for them. I have a DIY video on how exactly they built it, but it's just a giant tree and they have lots of wood and that's where I hang their toys and it's very interactive. The door here has a mesh on it, so they can't get out, but they love standing on the door. They have the cardboard to chew as well. They have the windows, like they have these big windows that they could always look out from, and I've taught them what windows are, so they have never bumped into a window.
And how did you teach them what a window is? Because I'm sure
really
people will be
funny.
wondering, how do I teach my bird what a window is? Like we said, they are very intelligent.
It's the funniest method. So they're very smart, and I brought them to the window, and I went tap tap, bonk.
Do you know what? I've done something very similar with Mia. Like in the beginning, I would bring her right up to the window and she would like put her beak up to the window and she realized like there is something there. And that also ties back to what we talked about way earlier, how over time they learn how to navigate their environment and they'll learn like, this is a window. This is a window. I can't fly through here.
Yeah.
But I find in the beginning, it helps to like even get like one of those window markers and put little X's or something on it, or those window stickers, or even like little dots. Cause I see that they even do that on the highways here. Like they put lines or dots on like the walls on the highways so that birds don't fly into them.
I wish they did that here. That's amazing.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, even you can put on the windows those shower poles. I love doing that. I have some on the window. Here, I can pull over and oops, sorry, Mango. Like I have here some of the shower poles. They fold inwards, if you can sort of see it.
Yeah.
It folds inwards so you can close the window. But even that shows that there's something there that you can get through, and as well, it serves for a place for them to just chill and look around.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I moved the computer.
Okay, so you mentioned having a mesh on the door or something, like something safe, even if it's like a bird room someone's creating, then having some kind of door and having the windows closed if there's any windows. and teaching them what a window is and what to put on the windows, having lots of like enrichment and like a big tree stand and toys and things for them to do. What about like bird proofing, like wires, your computer, any ceiling fans, all that kind of stuff? Plants.
I don't keep plants in my room. I'd love to, but one, my birds, two, I can't take care of plants. I'm terrible. I have a terrible green thumb.
So you have
We
like faux ones because I see them behind you.
Yeah, I have some fake ones, but
Yeah.
they never get to it. They're not interested.
Mhm.
Just because I know their personalities. If you don't, I don't really recommend it in
Yeah.
general. But I just know, like, I've had them for so many years. I know what they get into, what they don't. But definitely keep your wires hidden. Even if you need to get those stainless steel wires in case. Yes. Yes. Give me a little nod. Don't keep any metals out
Yes.
that they can might get into as well.
That can cause like toxicity.
Huge toxicity. Let's see, what else can I had one in my mind before Mango blasted it out of my ear with your screaming. Why are you screaming?
Having like, do you have a water station for them, or do they go into their cage if they want water?
All their food is on the outside because they're
Okay.
never caged unless it's sleeping time. But I do have on my nightstand, you know that swan fountain that was like going around?
Yes, it's like a sink.
Yes, and it has
Oh my
water
gosh, I
running
love
through
that.
it.
I got the little fountain one, the little like waterfall fountain floral looking one.
Oh, that
It's
one,
like
yeah.
it's usually used for cats as a drinking bowl, but it's safe for parrots too. So I got that, but I've seen that and it's so cute.
It's really cute. I have that one next on my nightstand just in case because they have this thing where they think their water bowl is only a sauce for pellets, and
Oh
then
my gosh.
I'll come back to my room and they're like, I need water. And I'm like, you have water. So I always keep as well a glass cup filled with water because
Okay.
they like drinking from a glass cup and nothing else because they're royalty. So things like that, just in case like something ever happens, they always need access to other water.
Yeah. And when you're out, do you have like a pet cam set up so you can check in on them, or is someone always home like checking in on them?
Usually someone's always home, but if everyone's out, I do have a little baby camera in this room where I can see what they're doing, and it has even to talk if I need to. So if I ever see them, like let's say getting into a fight or biting something they're not supposed to, which would be out of their character, I can just talk and be like, hey, and they'll like all stop and be like, oh my god. But
Mom's watching.
usually when I leave, they just wait for me to get back. They sit on the tree and just stare out the window like this, and they're like, when is she coming back? So
Aww.
that's usually what they do. It's just to make sure.
And have they ever gotten into like a fight or like altercation where it's something that you need to worry about if you have them out of the cage and you're not there?
They bicker, like mainly when they're like preening and maybe they grab something they weren't supposed to. They'll be like, ah, and then that's it. But they get along. They're very good. And when I'm gone, they just preen on the tree and wait for me to come back. They're not like maybe they'll preen each other, but they're really gentle with each other. They're good with each other. So I never really worry about that.
Okay, and one last thing around this is, what is your advice for someone who has a bird or who has like a flock, maybe 2, 3 birds, and they want to do, a bird room like this? What are some don'ts?
So first of all, it depends on the species of their birds. If you have, let's say for whatever reason, a cockatiel and a Quaker, that Quaker, if they get into that bickering fight, like the reason they're fine is because they're the same size, around the same beak size, strength, they can handle each other. But and their temperaments are like equal. Cockatiels are so passive, they're so chill, and a Quaker is really mean, so they can easily like get mad, bite their foot, and what they think would be like a normal bite to a larger bird could just rip off their foot. So be careful about what species you're mixing. As well, I never recommend it for anyone whose flock isn't like a flock. Like they have to be like very, very close to each other, and you have to be 100% about that.
Yeah.
And make sure that they have a lot of space in that room, because they don't want to be like cramped, have to be next to each other kind of thing. Like they
Yeah.
should all have their things to do because birds don't constantly want to be like right next to each other. They want their like independency and space.
Yeah.
So I think those would be the biggest things for my recommendation.
And I think another thing you've mentioned before on YouTube is if you just got a bird recently, don't just let them out and about and leave them in a room, even if you've bird proofed it and all these different things. You need to like build trust, and they need to be comfortable in their environment and their surroundings and all that kind of good stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Because you don't want to risk them. They're still scared of everything. So
And because in the future, of course, I want to grow the flock. What is like your biggest recommendation when like introducing new birds? Because you never know if they're going to jive, if they're going to like each other, if they're going to bond. So there's always the risk that they might hate each other, or you might have to work on bonding them for months.
so my biggest recommendation, first of all, there's some birds who have personalities that are good with flocks and others who don't. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
They're on the podcast. Good thing it's the Parrot Podcast.
I mean, I hope you can hear me. This is the biggest thing. So first of all, make sure that bird is used to you first, because you're the one who's going to be managing both of them to not like kill each other at first if they get really mad. Make sure as well you take that bird to the vet. You don't know if they have any diseases that they're going to pass on to your whole flock, and then you definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's even recommended to do a quarantine.
Yes, a quarantine. I think for like 2 weeks, or as quick as you can get that vet appointment.
Yeah.
You don't want to stress that new bird by seeing like other birds flying around and chatting, because they might be scared of you, the place, and now the birds.
Yeah.
So don't give them extra stress. And once they're bonded to you and you can handle them and you're going to introduce them to the rest of the flock, make sure it's not in their territory. So don't bring them
in a neutral environment.
Yes, a neutral environment. So make sure that's where it is, where they have space with each other. They just look at each other. They're kind of just getting used to one another. And then you can see how they're interacting. If they get near one another and they're like, just keep a hand, like you were ready to sacrifice your hand if something happened.
Yeah. Or get one of those like anti-biting gloves.
There's anti-biting gloves?
Yeah, there's like these gloves. I've seen them use them like when people are handling hawks and like bigger birds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Those ones, but I've even seen one of our previous avian vets who would wear like this glove, and it would help to prevent like if she got bit so that they weren't breaking her skin. So that's always an idea.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. I mean, I
actually posted a video once with our avian vet wearing the glove and holding Mia to cut her nails, and people are like, what is this conure holder that you have? I'm like, a conure holder? But you know, the best part is that I had like at least 10 people ask me. And I was like, why does everybody think I have a conure holder? It's just the avian vet holding her with a glove on. Sorry, there's no conure holder.
What a great perspective. I did not know that. This whole time I was sacrificing my hands.
You know, another thing that I do sometimes, or like Mia, sometimes when new people come, like she's not keen on their hands and fingers. So then I'll say like, if you're wearing a long sleeve sweater, you can pull your sweater over your hand. And then, you know, through a sweater, they're not going to break your skin unless it's a macaw. But we're talking about small birds.
Yeah. I mean, somehow mine can definitely break through 100%.
They have strong cheeks. Okay, so for green cheek conures, it's safe.
Usually with like strangers, they're not very good with strangers, so I just keep them like away.
It's something new. It's a change. Yeah,
it is. Especially because like Luza, even though she's rehabilitated very well, she still has like a fear of a lot of people. And too many people too. Like always like keep the environment quiet and as spacious as possible, because every time, like especially children, she hates children. So definitely separating those away.
But
Mango
children
will
are
just
not
have-
always like calm or gentle or like understanding that this is an animal and you need to be kind or not scare them or not be so loud or annoying.
Yeah, no, and not shove your finger in their face because they see how I handle them, and then they're like, "Oh, let me try," and they just like go for it and they bite them, and I'm like, "Yeah, you deserve that, dude. I'm not apologizing for
Yeah.
that." So it's just kind of like,
Sorry.
yeah,
Those are our kids and you're stepping into their boundaries.
yeah, exactly. It's like forcing a kid into a hug. It's like that's weird. Don't do that.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap things up. I'm going to ask you some fun questions to finish things off, and then I'll let you go and enjoy your day. So, if your parents had your parents, sometimes I say parents when I'm trying to say parrots. Like, I don't know.
I've done that before too.
Let me try that one more time. If your parents had a talent show, what unique skills do you think each of them would showcase?
Well, Luza would definitely be the bilingual talking. That's for sure. And then Mango would be her beautiful quacking.
Oh my gosh. That's so cute. I feel like Mia would be a gymnast. Like she is always just like upside down, twirling around, getting into things. I'm like, how are you doing these acrobatic things? If your parents were to write a book, what genre do you think it would be and what would the book title be?
That's actually a really interesting question. Mangoes would probably be something on like philosophy. I feel like when she like dazes off into the distance, it's either there's
She's
nothing
like, what
in
is
there.
life?
Yeah, it's either that or
What are
nothing in there.
feathers?
Her book title would be probably like The Thoughts of a Dazed Bird or something like that.
Your Daily Stoic by Mango.
Yeah. And then Luza would probably be
Write a book in Spanish.
hers would be horror.
Oh my God. Perfect for spooky season.
Literally. It's like, I don't know.
How I can rip off the skin off everyone's faces and make them bleed.
That would be her. Yeah, there's a reason I draw Quakers with knives all the time. They're just
Oh my gosh. I'm scared of Quakers now. Okay, who is introverted and who is extroverted?
They're both introverted.
Really?
Yeah, they're both. Mango doesn't like anyone aside from like my parents and me. They're like, I don't like you, and then they'll hide. Luza is very like,
I don't like you, I'm gonna attack.
Yeah, literally. It's just kind of like they both don't like being around people. They get it from me. Oops.
All right. If your parents could go on a shopping spree, what do you think that they would splurge on? What would they be buying?
Mango walnuts, for sure. It's her obsession. I have to
Me
limit
too.
I have to limit her walnut obsession. She knows where they are and she'll go and bang the jar. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Give me this. Mia does the same thing.
oh my goodness.
And I've heard from other bird moms that they'll like go to the nut jar to try and open it and their birds are like attacking them. And it's like, I'm trying to give it to you.
Yes, they're impatient. They'll like run into that. And then Luza's would probably be Nutriberries. She loves Nutriberries.
Oh, that they've been coming out with some really fun flavors recently.
Want the popcorn and banana one.
That is so fun. Like popcorn and banana. I kind of want to try that.
It's so funny. My parents are so curious about trying everything. They've tried Nutriberries before and they're like, these are good. And I'm like,
Your parents? No way. Well, you know what? It is like natural stuff. Like it's like their pellets and some seeds and some dried fruit. And I think it's like, I don't know how it's held together. I need to look at the ingredient list, but
like
they smell and look yummy. But I also have this thing where I'm like, if I would eat it, then I will feed it.
fair. Pellets taste like crackers.
You've tried the pellets? You're the second person I've talked to that's tried pellets. And you were fine?
It just tastes like crackers.
That's hilarious. You know what? I would try it, but I have way too many allergies and digestive
Oh, okay.
issues.
Yeah,
So
don't
I'm
do
not
that.
even gonna I'm not even gonna go there.
I have
All
very
right.
high curiosity, so
All right. So we're splurging and shopping for walnuts and nutriberries. If your parents could order from a restaurant menu, what do you think is the dish that they would order?
chicken and rice. I love, like, sometimes when my parents are making food, they already know they love chicken and rice, so they'll leave them to the side a little like unseasoned like
Yeah,
rice
like
chicken, and they'll
plain.
serve them their own plate, and they go
Cute.
crazy.
It's always so funny to me because Mango would also, I used to cook and like boil chicken for Lambo because he's always been on a home cooked diet. But when we lived in Thailand, there was no service that offered that. So I had to do it. And now that we live somewhere that has a city and is more civilized, I just order from this dog like meal service place where they steam the food and there's veggies and all that stuff in there and it's the portion right for him. But before that, I would do it myself. So I would cook chicken and Mango would be always like, I need to have a bite of that chicken. And I'm like, these are like your ancestors.
I
Like, you are also a chicken. You're just a colorful, smaller chicken and you're eating, your homies.
Because like I like don't eat too much chicken because I think of my chickens, right? And I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
I'm so bothered to eat it, and they're over there just like, I love this, and I'm like,
What are you doing? Oh, that's so funny. Okay, last one. If your birds were in the Parrot Olympics, what kind of sport do you think that they would each play or excel in?
Mango would probably be like long distance running. She's super fast. My dad calls her a little like war jet because she'll go pew, like that,
Oh my
just fast.
God.
And then Luza, probably like a heavyweight champion or something. She's pretty beefy.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. So thank you so much for jumping onto this podcast episode. I'm so excited and our chat was, I think, really valuable and informative. Let everybody know how they can find you on social media.
So you can find us on Instagram, Baby Kiwi and Mango. Our YouTube, Mimi's Birdhouse. So you guys can find that. It's the same name as our Etsy shop and our art page as well. And Baby Kiwi Mango as well for TikTok if you guys want to watch us there. And I think that's about our social medias.
And on Etsy, all of your custom drawings, what kind of products do you offer? I know I've seen stickers and keychains. What else
We
do you
have
have?
some pins, we have some art prints, and we're adding tote bags hopefully sometime this week or next week. So everything's just kind of parrot themed, and it works out. I love drawing,
Which is what we all love and why we're all here.
Exactly. Bird themed everything, please.
Awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Parrot Podcast. I'm your host, Sandra from Poodles and Parrots, and I hope that you have a classome day.